What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're talking about the state of the NieR raid. Was it just a giant commercial for NieR? But first, Chris, do we have a shout out? What do we got? What do we got
We
today?
do. It's another self promo day. Just a reminder, this month we have a bunch of Lunar Whale, our emote. We've got it on a bunch of merch. If you want to celebrate your Lunar Whale, drink from a water bottle, a mug, a pint glass, a pair of socks, anything to kind of augment your Lunar Whale experience. We've got that up this month. I don't know if it'll come back. I don't know if the Lunar Whale will be something that we're all hyped about. So if it's something you're going to be long-term hyped about, grab that while it's there, because we'll probably just move on to the next thing.
So, guys, be sure to check that out. If you're with us live, actually on Monday and Tuesday this week, I'll be live from 8 a.m. to 12, taking over the slot for Chris as he goes on a little vacation and enjoy a little R&R.
And I'm going to go for a long walk with my dog.
Long walk with his dog.
Vacation is really just getting away from this keyboard.
So, guys, hopefully you tune in. You can always use the command merch if you're with us live. But yeah, thanks so much for the support, and hopefully you find something that you like. But now let's talk about the giant NieR commercial within Final Fantasy XIV. Overall, I do want to jump in front of this because I think the content, the combat was gorgeous. It is some of the most interesting fights I think we've seen in a raid series. Mechanically, but I think it was just a big commercial for NieR. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little PSA in there, mind the gap. Don't get hit by a train. But other than that, it's just NieR. The fights are fun, but you could have swapped those skins out for more 14-centric creatures, bosses, monsters, orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have had just as much fun with the mechanics. I enjoyed 24-mans for that. So that aesthetically, that's just a choice. That's just a preference. I would have preferred that we were building towards something that mattered more for lore.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred that we were building more towards something that helped build on the expansion. With 6.0, for anybody not aware, we are wrapping up the story of 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, so that 6.1 we can begin something anew. And that once they made that announcement, you looked out and you realized, wow, the remaining pieces of content and 6.0 is the end of the runway. They have that amount of time to build up anything else that needs to be built up and start closing it down. And so it's kind of like getting into the last episodes of a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of wrap up. It's a lot of sending people off to happy ever afters, resolving long time conflict. And so, by the time they announced it to us, that runway wasn't very many patches. And we got another NieR raid during that window. And that just further drove in that stake of okay, but there's still people I have questions about that I just don't see how 6.0, without being eternally long, can be long enough at this point without 5.55 being eternally long, because that's all we have left. Those are the only two things left to tell us more story. Without 5.55 being 20 hours of story and 6.0 being 100 hours long, I just don't see how they can give me a satisfying conclusion to everything that I want. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. That's fine. But I just... I want to get to the end and I want to say, La Brea is by far the most compelling villain in 14. And I want to get to the end and I want to say hey, I know where everybody went. I know where people went. I know why things happened. I know what our place is in the world. I know what's going on with other shards. I know what's going on with some of the bigger topics in the room that we've talked about, some of the bigger reveals that we've had across Shadowbringers, some of the more historical reveals across Shadowbringers, kind of the origins of everything. And an Alliance raid is an enormous piece of that. And instead, we made a piece of crossover content that was way bigger than the Yokai Watch seasonal stuff, the Final Fantasy XV Quest series, the bringing Monster Hunter World and just fighting Rathalos on a standalone 8-man fight. Crossovers are really fun. Fan service, especially to other Final Fantasy things, is really fun, especially when cleverly held.
Mm-hmm.
But to have an entire piece of content where now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing 10 weeklies for the sole purpose of expanding on the lore of people that I just don't feel invested in.
So I think when we talk about it being a commercial, I think it's massively successful. I think the NieR raid in Final Fantasy XIV has only helped bolster NieR Automata and NieR Remnant.
But we just sold a lot of Butterfingers and we didn't need 3 raids to do it.
That's true. But
so that's the sole
yeah.
justification.
I think essentially what I've actually been doing, like Julie and I, we've been playing through the latest or the remake of NieR 1.28, blah 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 blah, and it's so enjoyable. Like it's such an enjoyable experience. I'm really glad that they've been doing that, and there's an appreciation I have having played that. So essentially, like I really enjoyed Automata, but just like most games of my pile of shame, it's one of those games that I never fully completed. And it just is out there, and I'm like, man, I need to go play that. Every time I'm running the NieR raid, I don't know if anybody else out there is like me in that regards. It just makes me go, you know, I really should get that done. I really should like just log out and go finish that. Like it's just a reminder of my shame that I have.
I've accidentally greeted on something on the first boss both the times I've run it. So at this point, I don't even get loot from it.
You're like, all right, we're good. I really do like one of the things that when running it multiple times, it is something that like mechanically is fascinating. I really do appreciate it for what it is and where in the content context of combat. However, when I look at it in comparison to Crystal Tower, which has a huge implication in Shadowbringers, when I look at the Void Arc, which just has huge implications and a lot of knowledge being dropped about, like the Alleg and all of what's happened in the previous calamities. When I look at Ivalice, which essentially not only helps set up the conclusion of Stormblood, and I've been very critical of Stormblood because I just felt like, hey, it was a tale of two cities, nothing wrong with it. You have these two stories that are going on, and then ultimately you kind of just say, hold up, we out, gonna go to another dimension, okay. But then all of a sudden we start coming back in, and with Bozja, it's like, okay, this was the conclusion. This is what Stormblood was leading to, this war, this conflict. And so now it feels so much more complete. And Ivalice played a huge role in that. You can't do Bozja without doing Ivalice. And in my mind, I cannot sit here and say, what requirement will NieR have on future implications to the game? It might. Who knows? 6.1, they could be like, guys, there's androids everywhere. This has been a simulation this whole time. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to go, well done. Well played, Yoshi P. Yokotaro. You, sir, tip of the hat, salute, double salute, triple salute. Like, that would be something mind-blowing. But at the time, like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, they sold more NieR. Like, they did. They absolutely came in. They did this. And it's so interesting because in what world have we ever seen, like you just said about Butterfinger, they sold a whole lot of Butterfinger without having to dedicate 3 raids to it.
They thought they could only sell 1 million. That's why they only had 200,000 mounts times, roughly 5 Butterfingers.
Did you get your mount?
Oh, crap.
Did you get your mount?
Yeah, I got my email this morning.
Okay, cool. I know that's a lot of people were like, I bought the Butterfinger. I haven't seen the mounts. What's happening?
I haven't entered the code yet.
Oh.
I'm working with you. I haven't done It's Guild Wars Day.
It's Guild Wars Day. Guild Wars time. So I think at the end of it, like hindsight being 2020, when they announced NieR Automata, I mean the NieR Dark Apocalypse, everybody was like, what? I was like, okay, that's exciting and interesting. How's that going to fit in? And ultimately, I just think they didn't care. It was just about the content. They try to make it kind of somewhat fit with the dwarves, and it is what it is. I think it sold a lot of NieR, but I just don't know how much it cost to develop that. And so hopefully that ends up being something that people go and check out NieR for what it is. I think that will be, a good thing that more people can check out.
People enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was too big for a piece of crossover content. I don't think that it was a bad idea to cross over with NieR. I don't think introducing people to NieR is a bad idea. I just wish that like if we had to give up Alliance Raid as core lore, then what I wish we'd done is we'd said, hey, here's a series we're going to introduce. So this whole thing is brought to you by a bunch of Square Enix titles. So this is going to be a Kingdom Hearts style raid where there's different tributes to different things going on. And so there's a whole raid that's just all of the different Dragon Quests. And then there's one that's got Octopath boss followed by a NieR boss followed by like, let's sell a whole Steam bundle. Like if that's really the goal, like let's make this a pop culture one of those movies that just makes fun of all the other movies, and it's meant to be something that, like, honestly isn't meant to be enjoyed as a single piece. It's meant to reference, oh, here's all the big movies and topics of the year. That very like Saturday Night Live model, right, where it's a whole bunch of pop culture references, and simply knowing how to speak English isn't going to make it enjoyable. It's referencing all kinds of stuff. What all happened this year, kind of a Square Enix rewind, and it's everybody they're in, everybody they talk to. So like, yeah, there's a new Tomb Raider game. Like, let's do Avengers, and like, let's make a laughable joke where like the boss falls over one bit and goes, sorry, kind of had a bad launch. Like let's laugh a little. Like, it was just too much not lore and all one other game. Like, if I like NieR, then they should have just said, hey, why don't you try NieR? And then if I did, cool, I'm glad I tried that. Yeah, if I want to play NieR, I'll play NieR. I don't need to play NieR while I play 14. That's why I booted up the Final Fantasy XIV launcher. And so it's not an insult to the game. It just didn't belong in my game.
I think what I'm most excited about, and I think we kind of got that, at least I got that feeling from the first keynote when they talked about how the raid and the Alliance raid are going to be solely unique to 14. I think a lot of people were like, oh, yes, let's see what that is. That sounds something like very refreshing, because even though Ivalice was done on the guest creator aspect, they still felt like they just really nailed it in terms of the world with Damaska, with the conflict with the Empire. Like, it just slotted right in. And I was originally kind of concerned for that. I was like, well, I mean, like, are they going to get this done? And I think time over time. And that's where I was coming at from NieR. So my final thought here in this regards is that I kept hoping that it was like maybe the third chapter of this kind of really gets me like, oh yeah, that was epic when you look at it all 3 chapters. And then I've been running the content because I've been just farming up the coins, and that's cool. I enjoy the content, but I'm just like, you're right. Like, you could have had another skin on this. You could have set it more design-wise for the first. I think I would have probably enjoyed that more, because I've really enjoyed the aesthetics of the first. Like, you put something with the pixies, you put something with, like, heck, even the Tempest, right? Like, you go and you sit here and theme it more off of how the first is situated, and I think I would have probably ultimately been in love with this.
Especially knowing the lore wraps up in 6.0.
Yeah.
There is a quest at the end of 5.4, 5.3. There is a quest where there is a scenario that takes us on a tour of sorts, and it had a lot of callbacks in it, more so than any other quest. It was a callback quest. That was its narrative delivery method. And my complaint about that was that as a scenario, there wasn't a harder difficulty. There wasn't a way to enjoy it more often and deeper. What if our Alliance raid system had been you know what? Let's just go spend some time with the Echo. Let's just go spend some time experiencing past memories. I think the Eden series did a great job of calling back to previous things.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I think that's a really good way of concluding kind of our thoughts here in this video. As always, we'd love to know your thoughts, whether you thought it was a good commercial, whether it was worth it for you. Like, what was your favorite boss? I think that's a really good question, because at the end of the day, like, the train boss was great. Like, I really appreciated that at the at the end of it. But that's going to be it for us for Work to Game. My name is Brian.
My name's Chris. I said La Habrea is by far the most compelling villain in Final Fantasy XIV.
Got it. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Twitch. Thanks for both just being there, but also
live 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. Okay. Late. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up. Thanks for being here. Love you faces. Hope to see you next time. But until then,
take care.